All right. Thanks for hopping on back in pairing. So this was the EMR update sidekiq migration helpers to be sharding compatible. And I was a little, I got to be honest, is that the context, I wasn't quite, I'm missing some pieces there. But let's check out the description here. So it looks like, well, before maybe some of it, I think is describing the code too. So we can also check out the code. But I think I want to also see this comment. I saw this earlier and it seemed to help out with um, giving some more content. So it looks like there's these sidekiq places where we make these calls, but they're not following some shard aware requirements. Um, so more complicated workloads include this sidekiq helpers. That's the one that this MR is touching. Moves jobs from QA to QB. Check Redis instance of both queues. Retain existing logic if both queues share the same Redis. Are okay. And then here's the whole thing about it. I think, um, let's see. Okay, well that's who authored it. So that's good to see that the authors also seems to have some domain expertise on this. So I'm gonna kind of rely on that. I'm just the first round reviewer, so I don't feel a lot of pressure to verify everything. But I did, when I first looked at it, I did have some things stuck out to me. So maybe we can start there. But before I start, let Sylvester know that I'm looking at this now. Okay, so one of the first things I saw, so not being totally aware of the context, I kind of just see some, to me, what seems like opportunities to just polish up the code a little bit. Uh, was here we are doing a select off of is this thing present? But then we like map to that value, and then we create this um, tuple from that. I was thinking maybe it makes more sense to like let's map to that value, then filter on if it's present, and then just make the tuple. So we never have to do like the do block. I don't know if that's more preferable or not. Um, so I think I'm going to leave a comment basically just saying like, hey, I don't know if we think this is more readable so that we don't have to do the do block. Uh, might be able to make this more readable and avoid the do block by mapping to constantize. Telling you, what you all are doing in the Ruby world is weird. Okay, let's start a review. Okay. So yeah, I'm not sure if that would help a lot. The other thing I see, so one of the things that seems to be the big change is that these kind of calls, these like delete jobs for calls, need to be wrapped in these like where we're pulling the client from a certain pool. Uh, so that's what I see is like that seems to be the strategy here. Uh, so I have a couple of questions. I think I'm just going to leave them as questions. I don't know if you can make them more direct. But one is this the right like logic if we have so previously we had a whole bunch of these queues, but now we've associated next to each queue a store. And is it possible that multiple queues share the same store? And like what happens if I'm calling this for the same pool multiple times? Like I'm actually wondering like do I need to maybe group by the store rather than just looping through it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, to be honest, I really have no idea. I would kind of have to look at this a bit more detail because I've never really done or heard of this this thing. What I would probably start with, I don't know if you're interested in that, is did you check out his the steps to verify it locally? Because I feel like going through all those would probably give some insight, at least into what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's a great point. I did not totally look at that, but it looks like you can open up okay, we can queue some jobs, then we can verify their existence, run the migration. And so this is with non-sharded setup. But then with the sharded setup, okay. So I know I'm not gonna run this, but so if I have multiple Redises running, yeah, yeah.
I think this is a bit of a intense MR.
I
Um,
know, right? This is my first backend review MR, and I was like, man,
I
I'm
think
I'm,
that's
I'm starting to
valid.
have I'm starting to have second thoughts.
Oh no, I don't know. I'm new too, but I don't think so. Well,
I
maybe another thing that could help is they said this is one of the more complicated ones of this genre. Maybe we could look at an easier one and
That's a good point.
get the idea. But yeah, I honestly have really no idea.
Yeah. So when I'm in this situation as a code reviewer, I usually find myself asking questions. I'm looking at maintainability of like, would I be able to understand, like, make little tweaks to the code? Um, but I find myself as a complete newcomer just asking questions. It's sometimes be really helpful, especially when the author is also, subject matter expert and stuff. So one of the I'm going to try to word this question I had. It might not be an appropriate question at all, but I am curious. Um, so just to clarify, we have we had a list of queues, and now we have a store associated with each queue. Um, is it possible for a multiple queues to share the same store slash okay calling each on the same multiple times? Uh, maybe we should by the store. Uh, iterate over those first. Disclaimer, I'm way outside my comfort zone here. Yeah. Okay. Um, and then oh yeah, so let me go back. So another thing I'm noticing here too that I kind of want to ask a question about. Okay, yeah. So we delete interesting. So we're still I wasn't sure. Oh, sorry, let me look at this. Um, yeah, this is interesting. We still pass all job classes over down to when we go to delete jobs for. So I guess that makes sense. So we're just gonna keep passing them. I wasn't sure if like okay, I'm iterating through them, but I'm still passing the whole like original set over there. But I guess we've been doing that already. Um, I think this is pretty. I don't know. What do you think of this kind of thing? They added a return value which creates this kind of pretty uh way of knowing if we've successed or what the number of attempts and everything. Is like, oh, that's kind of cool. Uh,
Yeah.
do you think there's a different? Is there a more straightforward way of creating that kind of return value, or do you feel
Mm,
like it's pretty good as it is?
see. Um, I think it looks good. Um, yeah, I'm not seeing anything too wrong with it or anything.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I might. The only thing I think that just came to my mind just now is um uh aggregating results seems like a helpful utility method. Maybe this aggregation could go function somewhere. I don't know. Ruby land, you guys call them functions?
Yeah, I think people usually say method, but I
Okay.
think that's yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, good suggestion.
um, okay. All right. So yesterday when I was looking at it, I only made it to this far. So we're already way ahead. It's helpful. It's helpful having a hand to hold throughout this experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm quite out of my depth, but yeah, I think the questions are good. Yeah, I mean we're trying our best here, so
Yeah, and I think this is a really important role of code reviewer is like I like that we all review everything, even if we're not an expert at it. Because I think that educates me and just provides a whole new perspective to people that are directly working on this. I think it's really interesting. Um, okay, so previously, okay. So sidekiq q migrate. I'm curious what calls this. Um, I don't happen to have. Okay, yeah. Oh, there's a number of things that call this. All right, it looks like we have. It's a string to a string. Um, I don't have a lot of. I need to. I need to level up my Ruby setup too. I don't have that. So we did this thing, and now we're not doing that same thing again. We have this new migrate across instance. Okay, that's interesting. And that's taking in, oh, migrate within instance. Ah, if we can migrate within the instance, or do we need to migrate across the instance? If we can migrate within the instance, we do the same thing we were doing. Ah, but that's nice. We actually moved this Redis connection to outside the while loop. Um, which I think to me that makes sense, but I also not familiar with this to know if there's any gotchas um with doing that. I'm sure that there's not. Uh
The comment on line 95 is it's alarming me a bit. It's like cross transfers are not atomic and data loss is possible. Um,
yeah, that's a
gosh, maybe we could ask about that. Is that, or we could try to figure out like is that doesn't sound very good.
it doesn't. Does it?
Yeah,
It's not atomic and data loss is possible. All right, yeah. Let's figure out a question we can ask there. Uh I'm kind of wondering, is this across instance approach or introduce issues that um that we're not already experiencing? Maybe new risks. Ah, right, new risks that we're not already experiencing. Um,
good
uh,
point.
yeah, should this be feature flagged? Should this be feature flagged if concerned about the reliability?
Good point. Yeah.
I think as a code reviewer, that's just gonna be my if I don't know anything, I'm just gonna be like, hey, does this introduce any new risks? That's just my
That's
default question, no matter what.
nice.
Okay. Um, all right. So one thing I'm saying is we're calling these new helpers, I guess. GitLab sidekiq worker. Oh, and that's coming from here. This is some we have some new methods here. Let me go ahead and close our other windows. See what's going on here. Ah, stores with Q. Ah, we look at our okay, so we you now we're getting our Q name. Oh, we'll look through all of our rule evaluators. Filter map is a helpful it seems like a helpful function. Um, I'm not sure what a rule evaluator is. Oh, maybe. Oh, rules are okay. Yeah, okay. We got our parse ratting rules. Okay. So that's looks like we have these based on these rules, they go to these workers. Okay. Okay. So stores within the queue. store name if the evaluator dot queue name. Previously, we weren't calling that function. Um, like we just went for it. But now we actually have multiple. I see this is like creating a situation where we just get multiple stores. So if migrate within instance, let's see what that does again. Oh, if it's empty and that one is empty, if we're not really doing these stuff, or maybe we can make that. Maybe we can simplify this bit. So if they're empty, well, if they're empty, what do we? Oh, if they're empty, then we just call these the original function. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. I think we could simplify that. Um, what if we did something like size is greater than one, depth store size is greater. But this is like the opposite thing, right? I don't know if that helps. That doesn't help. That's pretty good. I don't. We don't need to nitpick this. Is there a simplification that's jumping out to you, or do you think it's pretty good as it is?
Yeah, not really. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I think it's pretty straightforward. Of like, it's not. It kind of follows a
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Now that sounds good. The only other thing is I'm seeing like worker router doesn't have like we're not having a unit test for this public method of worker router. And so maybe um uh test could we add a small unit test for this new public method uh, worker router? Um okay. Let's check out these specs. We changed the specs a bit too. So previously, so I would expect almost to some extent, I expect these specs to show up like in the default case, uh, somehow. Um, so these were calling, oh, this was calling sidekiq queue length. Oh, do we not do that anymore? Maybe we don't even have that anymore. It seems like a different helper method. Yeah, maybe we're not even calling that. What do we get rid of that? Did we actually call this? Why are we getting rid of that? Let me see.
like we still have it, right? So
Yeah. I
we,
wonder if, oh, it's now in, but it's in, but it's a private method.
oh yeah, right.
I see. That makes sense. It looks like, yeah, so I don't think we need to directly test it. And it's probably getting tested implicitly by the way we use it. So yeah, I see down here we must have added. Oh, we must have moved. Yes, yes, yes. We moved it to private. Nice, 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 nice. I'm gonna leave a praise comment. Thanks for moving this method to private. Makes sense. You don't need this. Okay. So I would love to know your thoughts on this. In in a certain early iteration of our testing in the front end, we ran into issues when we had like our expectations and callbacks because sometimes those callbacks would never actually get called, and so our test actually never had any expectations. So it's like that's, but I see we're actually already all in a callback. Um, I'm assuming we can I'm assuming there's some assurance that these callbacks we are reliable, like where they're gonna get called.
Yeah, I haven't ever heard of an issue like that on the back end, but what you can always do if like and when you did it in the front end, if you change it, let's say change that to 3, would you notice that it doesn't fail?
That's a great idea. Let's just double check that. That's a great idea. Let me go ahead and run this test. What's going on? Oh, I don't have the GDK. Go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. While that's running, yeah. So this is seems nice. We're just kind of changing up. Oh, what is wrong with you? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What? Maybe I need to not run Spring. Maybe it's because I'm gonna try to just run RSpec and see if that works. Yeah, it did not seem to like. I may need to turn my computer off.
I had a lot of issues with Spring over time, so I tend to use it most of the time, to be honest. Like especially my last job, it was using a lot of memory, and we had only 16 gigabytes on our MacBook there. So
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of like bad experience with Spring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
but yeah, I don't know. Maybe people like it here.
I I think you get a mixed bag. I think um I find myself using it because the test would definitely start a lot faster. Um, it's not surprising that like there's so much code that at some point, like I guess the cost of the memory and how much code there is that's loading is like there's some intersection where it's more valuable, but I'm kind of just in a habit of using it, and it might not be as needed as when I was first using it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe also. figure out I do need it later. So we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so all right. Sidekiq client via shard instance. Perform something. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, this the feature category stuff we don't need to worry about right now. But yeah, we were talking about if I change this to 3, I would expect them to fail. And
Yeah.
I think we'll see that.
So it's good to check though. Sometimes those can slip in. It's easy to write a test that's not actually testing anything. So it's a
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Nice, 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 nice. Um, yeah, let me ask you a quick question about so like the issue we would run into with in the front end, you can imagine when you're dealing with promises and like there's a really easy way to make, call asynchronous. Um, and this was a while back. Like there's a lot more checks to make sure we're not doing this anymore, but we'd have a callback and try to do an expectation on the callback, but that callback would never get called because it was like, oh, we weren't actually waiting for the asynchronous stuff to finish. Um, is there anything like in Ruby, is there anything like promises, or if I want to like make a task that's like an asynchronous task, um, is there a concept like promises in Ruby?
Well, I think as far as it being really, I don't know. This is why I'm not exactly a front end person because I find it very confusing in JavaScript with the whole promises stuff and things like that. I don't think there's anything that confusing, but the main thing you might run into is if somebody's running in a is supposed to be in a sidekiq job and it's asynchronous,
Okay,
so it probably won't get called in your tests.
okay.
So that's the only thing you need to worry about. Like let's say you have something that's supposed to send an email, but it's in a
Yeah.
sidekiq job, then it probably wouldn't send the email in your test. But I haven't really seen people get confused by that as much as I do remember my last job also with the jest and the promises and stuff. People are always talking about being confused. So I don't think it's as much of an issue on this side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I come from the back end framework I have the most experience in is doing C sharp and .NET. And they have they have like awaitable tasks in there which are very feel very familiar to like the promise stuff. So it's like all of that is like, okay, this kind of makes sense. I can just have kind of something running off over here that's gonna and I can wait for that or whatever. I don't know if Ruby has something similar, and maybe it just doesn't need something like that or even tries to do anything like that. So um but that makes sense. And I think I've run into the issue, the problem you were describing. Uh, okay, so I guess we're then checking these queues for the shard, and then this one must just be doing the default one, checking that the queues, and then we run our this is our act of the test to equal main from all right. What are these constants coming from? Oh, these are coming from this is like a shared test helper thing, I guess. Yes, these are shared test helpers. So then we create um as a native Rubier, how do you feel about this pattern of the shared example kind of uh, being coupled to the client making some lets beforehand?
I think, well, to me, it seems fine.
Okay.
Can you go back down to those lets? Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I don't know, maybe I'm just not thinking of a better way to do it though. I mean,
Yeah,
it does
I've
get
seen
confusing, but I feel like that's a common way to do it.
yeah, yeah, I've seen it a bit too. Um, allow feature to receive enable. We have our that's weird. I would expect an explanation for this because we normally have like what do we call it? What are our helpers called? Something like it's not it. I'm so disappointed. What is it called? Stub feature flags. Yes, that's our helper. I was like wondering why we can't use that one. Um, uh, are we able to use our stub feature flags over here? If not, can we leave a comment by this explicit feature? Allow I wonder why we have to do this thing where we allow it to receive and call original.
Is it possible they're trying to see if it was called, or are they not doing that anywhere?
Oh, do you think we want to do maybe if it was expect?
Yeah. Like,
Oh, this is like a I guess sometimes I guess that's just initializing. So just I guess that is okay. I guess this is some initialization since we are then changing it all of here. Like we just kind of reset it. That makes sense. When there are multiple stores, one destination store, when there are multiple destination stores and one source store. All right, I want to see if I understand. So shard from size and to size. Okay. So when this thing is getting all the stores only for tests, but the other one does not, they all end up on the main shard is kind of what I'm saying. which makes sense. There's only one, the destination. Oh, okay. Maybe we can think of another name for new test. Maybe we can call this, instead of calling it test and new test, maybe there's another name for it.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Um, uh, could we use a more descriptive name? Test, new test. Maybe source queue and test queue.
Nice. Nice.
There's like I'm noticing in other places, it's like it's not like the most terse code, but I do appreciate like the patterns that it's just following and like it's I feel like it's pretty for the most part straightforward to follow. Um, Stores with queue, that's what we were just doing. So anytime stores with queue is called, we'll do that to receive store. All right, yeah, we're stubbing this thing quite a bit. Um, do we really have to stub it so much? Hmm. I won't worry about it, right? But I think that would be interesting if maybe maybe instead of stubbing the router so much, is there a way we can initialize the router to just work and integration would be neat? But I don't know, maybe not. Yeah, we have this global router. Uh, yeah, I think it's fine. I won't leave a comment about everything. Uh, okay. I think I'm good. I think I've left some comments. I feel good about it. Um, Thanks for working on this. I left some comments and questions, consideration. Uh, Also, thanks. Where are you at?
Third one.
There we go. Thanks for sharing on this.
Yeah, that's nice because I'll be like subscribed to this because I actually do want to see what happens because I'm pretty out of my depth with this, but I'm sure I can learn something based on
Yeah,
his advice. So,
yeah, this was yeah, this was interesting. This was my first backend review, Lamar. Was not
yeah,
was
wow.
not expecting. All right. Yeah, that was helpful. Yeah, we got a little bit more time, but maybe we can call it early.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, thanks so much for your help, Leslie. I appreciate it. I'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thanks very much.
All right, I'll
See
see
you.
you. Bye.